It started with a phone call no officer ever forgets. 911, what's your emergency? A tiny voice whispered, My daddy isn't dead. He's under the floor. The dispatcher froze. Sweetheart, can you say that again? My mommy says he went to heaven, the little girl repeated softly, but I heard him crying. Under the floor, that was enough. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars rolled up to a quiet suburban home just outside Columbus, Ohio. A modest, white-sided house with wind chimes by the porch, the kind of neighborhood where nothing ever happens until it does. Officer Jenna Miles stepped out first, her hand resting near her belt. She was used to false alarms, pranks even, but this felt different. Her partner, Officer Trey Collins, knocked gently on the door. A woman in her early 30s opened up calm and smiling. Mom, we received a call from this address, Jenna said. The woman blinked. Oh, that must have been my daughter playing with the phone. I'm so sorry she has an imagination. But Jenna caught a glimpse of the little girl peeking from behind the hallway. Big blue eyes, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Scared, but not like a child afraid of being grounded. This was deeper mind. If we have a quick word with her, Jenna asked. The woman hesitated. She's been upset since her dad passed last month. She doesn't understand it yet. Jenna crouched down to the girl's level. Hey there, I'm Officer Jenna. Did you call us? The girl nodded slowly. Can you tell me what you heard? The girl's lip trembled. Last night, I was in bed, and I heard Daddy crying. I put my ear to the floor. He said, Help me. Everything went quiet. Officer Collins stepped back. We need to check inside. The woman's tone shifted. This is ridiculous, but Jenna's instincts screamed louder. And when she looked into that little girl's eyes, she knew something was buried in that house, and it wasn't just secrets. The tension in the living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Officer Jenna gently guided the little girl to the couch, while Officer Collins radioed in for backup, and a child welfare officer. The mother Rachel stood near the kitchen, arms crossed, her cheerful mask slipping. Mom Jenna said carefully, We need to check the floor. The child made a very specific statement, and we can't ignore that Rachel's smile vanished. You're going to rip up my house because of something a 6-year-old imagined Jenna didn't blink. We'll start with just the area she pointed to. No damage unless necessary. Rachel's jaw clenched, but she nodded stiffly. Fine. The girl led Jenna to the hallway, then stopped in front of a small door near the stairs, an old utility closet. Here, she said, pointing to the wooden boards beneath her tiny feet. I heard him right here. Jenna knelt down and pressed her ear to the floor. At first, nothing. Then was that a groan? A soft, low sound, like air being pushed through a vent. She motioned for Collins. Within minutes, backup arrived along with a forensic team. A small drill was brought in to check below the boards without causing full damage. As the bit spun, Rachel began to pace. Her hands shook. Why don't you go sit with your daughter? Collins suggested. I'm not leaving this room, she snapped. Then a click. The drill struck something hollow, not just wood. Jenna's heart pounded. They carefully removed 2 floorboards, and the stench hit immediately. Sweat, rot, and something metallic blood. Everyone stepped back. Collins pulled out a flashlight and aimed it inside the small crawl space. Silence. Then a movement, a hand. Pale, trembling. Dear God, Jenna whispered. There was a man, barely conscious, gagged and bound with duct tape, his face bruised and filthy, but alive. The girl's voice echoed again, I told you, Daddy's not in heaven. Rachel bolted for the door, but was tackled before she reached it, screaming, kicking, yelling that they didn't understand. But the truth had just clawed its way out from beneath the floorboards, and it had a name. Paramedics rushed in as soon as the man was pulled from the crawl space. His body was limp, his skin pale with dehydration and lack of sunlight. But his eyes were still fighting, trying to focus. Trying to stay alive, sir. Can you hear me? one medic asked, shining a light into his pupils. The man gave a faint nod. Rachel, now handcuffed on the porch, screamed into the night. "You don't know what he did! You have no idea!" Officer Collins stood nearby watching the medics work. What kind of person locks someone beneath their own home? Jenna didn't answer. She was watching the little girl. The child clutched her stuffed rabbit tight, standing in the hallway, unnoticed in the chaos. Jenna crouched beside her again. "You were very brave," she said gently. "You saved your daddy's life." The girl looked down. "He said he'd come back upstairs if I listened real close." Jenna's heart squeezed. As detectives arrived, the truth began to spill out in fragments. The man's name was Daniel Cooper, and yes, he was Rachel's husband. A quiet man, a schoolteacher, no criminal record, no known enemies. So why was he nearly left to die under his own house? Rachel's story shifted with every breath. First she claimed Daniel had left her, then she said he was abusive. Then she insisted he had threatened to kill her. But there were no police reports, no restraining orders, no witnesses. Only her word, and Daniel's word, barely a whisper, told a different story. He'd discovered Rachel was planning to leave with their daughter and a hidden account of nearly $90,000. When he confronted her, she panicked. She struck him with something heavy, bound him, and dragged him to the crawl space in the middle of the night. She fed him once. Then nothing. Jenna stared at Rachel through the window of the squad car. No one in that peaceful neighborhood ever imagined the smiling woman who baked cookies for the block party could be capable of something so cold. But the real hero wasn't wearing a badge. She wore bunny slippers, and she had just saved her father from the dark. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beeping of monitors and the soft hum of machines. Daniel Cooper lay in bed, bruised but alive. Tubes ran from his arm, and his lips were cracked from days without water, but he gripped his daughter's hand like it was the only thing anchoring him to the world. "Did you really hear me?" he asked her, voice hoarse. The little girl nodded. "You were crying. I listened like you said." Daniel blinked back tears. "You saved me, sweet pea, outside the room." Officer Jenna stood with Child Protective Services. The conversation was difficult, but necessary. For now, the child would stay in temporary foster care until Daniel recovered fully. He agreed, though the thought of being apart from her again was almost too much to bear. "Just keep her safe," he whispered. Meanwhile, detectives dug deeper into Rachel's past. What they uncovered stunned even the seasoned officers. 2 years ago, Rachel had taken out a large life insurance policy on Daniel without his knowledge, and the money she stashed traced back to multiple small withdrawals from their joint account over months. She'd been planning this for a long time. Neighbors were shocked. They were the perfect couple, one woman said. He coached Little League. She brought pies to the bake sale. But behind the curtains of that picture-perfect home, something had snapped. At the police station, Rachel sat silent, cold, unapologetic. "I did what I had to do," she finally said. "He was going to ruin everything by being alive," the detective asked. Rachel smirked. He was weak. Back at the hospital, Daniel finally drifted off to sleep, holding tight to the drawing his daughter had made a stick-figure family with the caption, "Daddy came back, it wasn't over." There would be court hearings, therapy, long days ahead. But for the first time in weeks, Daniel didn't feel like he was suffocating in the dark. He was finally free, and he owed it all to the one person who never stopped listening.